Hey y'all, it's Lucy. My website is paperglitterglue.com, where basically this is what I make, little houses. And for this project, I've got the Alpine Christmas house. This was actually the first house I made for my kind of Alpine village that's in my Alpine wreath workshop. And it's based on a vintage Putz house design, which they used to sell at little 5 and dime stores, and which was sort of the precursor to dollar stores. And they used to sell for like 5 or 10 cents a piece. They were mostly made in Japan, but this is one of the kind of old-timey designs. And I just wanted to share it with you. I made it for an event about a year ago, and I had to wait a year to be able to share it. So this is the Alpine Christmas house, and it's just such a nice kind of classic little house design. So I'm going to start off showing you how it looks in Cricut Design Space, because that is the cutting machine that I use, and then we'll go into the construction details. All right, I hope you have fun joining me making the Alpine Christmas house. Briefly, I'm going to start off showing you how to set up the Alpine Christmas house design within Cricut Design Space. So I pulled up my Cricut Design Space on my laptop, and this is the home screen. We have to go to the canvas either by clicking here or under New Project. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to upload. I'm going to find my design on my computer. Clicking here, Browse. And this is the file that holds the Alpine Christmas House SVG files, but I've also got some PDF files. So if you like to look at them that way, you can. Okay, here's the one. That looks like the correct file. So we're going to hit the continue button in the lower right hand side, the dark green button. The Cricut kind of uses these buttons as a way to guide you. So the dark green button usually means that's the next thing you need to do. Click continue. Here's the image details page where you can add specific things like Putz houses. You can kind of make collections so you know so you can kind of organize your files. The next green button is the upload button in the lower right-hand corner. And now we have our design on the canvas. I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit so I can see everything. And then I have to, first I like to make sure that the file is the right size. So I'm going to ungroup it. And I check my 1-inch square to make sure it is 1 inch and 1 inch and 1 inch by 1 inch, and that it has uploaded at the size I designed it. And it says 1 by 1 here, and it says it during the size in the size area as well. So I can delete my square now. I'm going to pull aside the things that don't need to be that don't have score lines, and I'll kind of tell you what they are. This is the base that fits the bottom of this house, so that's one. This is an optional circular window. This is the main roof, the roof that goes on the steeper part of the house. This is a side roof, and there are two options for the side roof. One is if you want just a small chimney, then use this roof piece. If you want a side chimney, you need a cutout, so use this roof piece with this chimney. Now let me ungroup the house. Trim. This is the Alpine trim, the wood trim. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And you have one circular window. You can do the open window or the closed window. And then here is the main body of the house. So I'm going to just kind of hide these for a moment. I'm going to group them, and hide them. So we're just looking at what has score lines. This is the house piece, and if you click this little arrow here, it'll show you what is grouped with the house piece, and it's my score lines here, and then the body of the house piece here. So I'm going to click on these score lines, these little lines. And when you go over to the color box, it shows you what color they were drawn in. And I drew them, I always draw my score lines in red. So that's a major clue that these are score lines. And then you go down to the operations menu in this upper left-hand side and scroll down to score. And you'll see that the lines turned into dashed lines on the body of the house. And now let's attach them. Attach. And let's do the same thing with the other pieces. This is the chimney. I'm going to choose just these lines. Check to make sure they're red. Operations menu, go down to score, back over to the layers panel, select the entire piece by, clicking on it here, attach. This is the roof with this for the side chimney. Open it up, choose this line. Back over to the operations menu, we see our red square, score. Click on the entire piece, so the whole piece turns green, attach. Same thing with the other chimney option. Obviously just choose one chimney. Back to the operations menu, we see our red square, score, select, attach. The main chimney, choose this one line. Back over to score, select everything, attach, and I think I got one more chimney piece I need to convert. Choose these score lines just by clicking on them there. They're red, score, attach. And this design is actually it is small enough. It's just under 4 inches tall at its widest point. So you can make it with a Cricut Joy. You can make all of these pieces fit on a Cricut Joy. So this little house, and it is a little house, works well on any of the Cricut machines. The Cricut Joy, the Cricut Joy Extra, Cricut Explore Airs, or the Makers, or even the Venture if you have one of those. So I use either cardstock or cardboard to cut it out. And I recommend that if you're going to, for the body of the house, you want it to be stronger. If you're going to use cardstock, use a slightly heavier cardstock, like 100-pound or more. So 100 or 110-pound cardstock. It just makes a stronger house. I have made the house out of 65-pound cardstock, and it works fine. But it's better if it's 110. I personally prefer cardboard, and then I paint it, and I just think you have more color options. It's stronger. That's my favorite. Okay, now let's construct the house. I don't think Alley Cat is going to bother me. I'm not sure, but I hope not. Let me get the pieces. Now I have all the pieces for the house, and we'll see if we can work around Alley Cat. I've got a steel ruler. I really like these because I think it helps you fold along, especially along, let me see if I can shine it, diagonal score lines. Yeah, I wish you would move. The others are straight line and much more straightforward. So I don't really need my little ruler for those. So first I fold them towards me where the score line has indented the paper, and then I fold away. Okay, I suggest before you paint or add any windows or anything, you fold around all the score lines because they're harder to see once you add other stuff to them. Okay, let's add the timber framing. This piece with no middle goes on the back. And I'm just going to apply some Barely Art glue. And because we're dealing with cardstock to cardstock, it's easy. And the front piece has a centerpiece. Here's a door and a window. So let's apply that.
Oh, I designed this so you can cut out 2 houses out of 1 sheet of cardstock, or rather the base piece. You can also get the trim. You can get 2 trims, I think, on 1 piece of cardstock. One reason I like using more glue than's really necessary is because if you've got a little bit on there, you've got a little room to ooch it into place exactly. Okay, so this piece goes here. This piece of, I'm calling it timber frame trim. In Germany, these houses are called half timbered houses. And there's even a like half timbered road where you can follow and see all these incredible old houses. And not only that, it's actually illegal to tear them down. They can renovate them, but they can't alter the exterior. They can't make the exterior look different. And so it's really enchanting. I mean, I'd love to see it. Okay, and then the rectangular piece of timber frame trim. But this is also similar to Tudor houses in England. So that's the framing, and we need 3 windows and 1 circular window. Red, I like red better. If I'm going to have brown trim, I want the windows to pop, and I'm going to use a green roof. And you may wonder what these holes are for. These are also in case you want to wire it onto a wreath or something. I put these holes, or you can have a light go through here, and then you could do a wire or a piece of yarn or something, so you can actually tie it onto a wreath. All right, now let's do the structure of the house. So we're trying to make it into a rectangle. And the most important thing here is to line up the bottom and make sure it's shaped into a rectangle. Yes, that looks good. I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to do the roof pieces, and I'll show you how these flaps help hold it in place. Now that the house is glued together, we can glue these, I call these roof flaps, or rather the roof tabs, to the roof flap. And what it does is it keeps this structure straight. If this piece wasn't here, then these 2 pointy ends, the gable ends, can flex. But with the roof flap in the middle, it holds them straight, and it helps keep your house rectangular. So I use them on all of the houses that I can. Sometimes, like if I have a curved roof, it's not really practical, and it only works on one side. The pattern, because I've got a different roof here, these don't have a roof flap, but this one side is enough to maintain the structure of the house. See, keeping it straight. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, this pointy side, this gable end. Kind of I like this design. This is based on an old house, old-timey Putz house design. So I came up with my own stuff so I can make it into an SVG file. A little Alpine House. And that is the structure of the house. We'll let that dry, and then we'll glue the roof on. Now, let's glue on the roof pieces. I always glue this one first. It has to go kind of in this space, so it's got to be under the side piece. And it needs to be firmly seated in this little area, in this little intersection of the 2 roofs. So let's add some glue to the roof flaps. Now see, these don't structurally do anything except they provide a gluing surface for the roof. So they actually do serve a purpose, just not really a main structural purpose. All right, now let's slide it down in place and make sure it's kind of centered front and back. And the other thing about the flaps are that you can kind of, push them in place and let that adhere. Looks good. Now for the second piece. Now we have a choice here. You can use this piece with the cutout for a side chimney, or you can use this regular piece for a top chimney. Now let me show you the side chimney. So see how there's a cutout piece so the side chimney fits. And this one has a chimney that glues on the back. So it goes on the top of the roof, so you don't need that cutout. That's why you have two options. And always remember, you're trying, people get messed up about this sometimes. The angled side of the roof, of this secondary roof, goes against the angled side of this first peak. So remember that. Sometimes people try to do it this way and then like looks like a ship or something. So, okay, angled side against the angled part of this roof. So let's apply some, which one do you think? I actually like the side one better. So I'm going to use this roof piece. Trusty glue. So I kind of slide it in place. Oops. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll make the chimneys. So this is the tall side chimney, and because the strips are relatively narrow, I like to use my ruler to help me fold along the score lines. Okay, so I folded towards me and now away. And the one with the side with this little notch, that is the glue tab. So it goes inside, and there's our rectangular chimney. Now if you want, one thing I like to do, I haven't done it on any of these, but I'll get a white Uniball pen and draw a brick pattern on it. So that is something you can do, and it's easy. I think it's easier than, you know, trying to draw it on your Cricut. Just draw some staggered lines. And try to keep it square. Just a little bit. Sometimes it like ooches the wrong way and it gets a little wonky, but doesn't show up. And then we glue it to the side of the house. Now, the disadvantage is, this is a really cool pattern, I think. So you have to cover it up. So if you know you're going to choose a side chimney, you don't have to glue on that window. I'm trying to pick the best side to apply glue to. And let's just center it here. Again, match up the bottom. Center it. There, now we have our little chimney. And I just want to show you briefly how the other one works. So I'm going to use my little ruler once again to help me with these small little score lines. And again, the little notched area is the glue tab. I also tried to make it a little bit narrower so it'll fit inside the chimney. And so that is the short chimney that goes on top of the roof, and you just apply glue in here and kind of balance it on top. It helps if you let the glue get a little tacky. So what I do is apply a little bit and let it dry for a minute or two, because then it's stickier and it will adhere, and you can just kind of hold it for a second while it's, and hold it in place. So those are the chimney options for your little Alpine house. Next, the base. Okay, here's how I make a base. for my little Alpine house, I've got 4 layers of cardboard. Like I said, I want it to be sturdy, so, you know, probably overdo it, but, and then I simply cut them out with my Cricut. You can put like 4 or 5 on a page. If you're using 8.5 by 11 cardboard, cut out the base for 1 or 2 houses, and you don't have to do 4, but I would do at least 2. Or use cardstock with 1 layer of cardboard. And then another thing, to make it adhere better, I kind of ooch it around and sort of smear the glue. So it'll be sticky, and then really try to line it up. And do that 2 more times. Now we have 4 strong layers. I will let it dry, and then a lot of times I'll let it dry under some kind of weight, like say you've got 2 old Cricut mats that just, you know, won't stick for anything. You can put them between those and then put a weight on it, or put it under your non-stick mat, something so that it'll just dry flat. Then I paint it with gesso, and then I paint it with the color of choice. And I really debated, I had trouble. So I just kind of picked green because I'm mostly covering the base up with snow. So also, if it's on a wreath or on a tree or something, this won't show up as much. So that's why I picked green. And that's how you make the base. And next, we will adhere the house to the base. Now, to adhere your house to the base, it's very simple. You can use your Barely Art glue. You can use a stronger glue. You know, just kind of decide what you want. And I simply, you know, I could make tabs and stuff down here to give you more space, but I've never done that. And, you know, I've made hundreds of little houses. So I just run a bead of glue along the base and smush them down. But also, if you put snow at the base of your house, that's like extra gluing surface as well. And then I'm going to try to give me a little room for maybe put a little deer or some kind of figure. I got these figures, but I think they're too small. I thought it would be fun to have some ski figures, but they're teeny. Oh, shoot. There, how the base come off. See, I don't think my ski figures, I think the scale is wrong. Whoops. That person tumbled down the mountain. We go again. I know I've got some little deer that I can glue on, and maybe a tiny bottle brush tree. I've got some tiny bottle brush trees. And excuse me. Our final step, once it dries, is to add some snow and consider glitter. Okay, now with Alley-Cat's help, we're going to add some snow to our little house. And I usually use this brand, Deco Art Snow Tex. There are some other brands. One is, I think, called True Glitter. But this is one I'm familiar with, so I'm going to show you how I use it. And I like the snow to kind of have a heaped up edge, and I like to let it kind of drip down. I just like that look. So I have to modify it a little bit, and I'm just going to show you that to you real quickly. So this is the way it comes. This is a brand new bottle, and it's actually very thick. Can you see how thick it is? It's going to eat my brush. Give me that. Let me get a scrap piece of cardboard. Okay, here is a scrap piece of cardboard, and I'll just show you how thick it is. And so it's not like you can paint it on. You really have to smear it on, and it doesn't, I have trouble making a smooth edge. So I actually dilute this with a little white paint and glue. I usually use Mod Podge. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is the house we're going to decorate. I've got an empty jar. It's got just a little bit at the bottom, and let me see if you can tell how smooth it is. See the difference? It's paintable. So let's scoop some of the snow text in here. And this also makes your snow text last. It's actually relatively expensive. I put about 3 scoops. I don't have specific measurements for this. And this is probably, you can kind of hear, this is probably the end of the bottle of my gesso, my white primer. So I'm just going to pour that in. Let's see how thick it is. Pretty thin. Let's stir it up and see what kind of texture we get. I think that is certainly paintable. It may actually be a little bit too thin. I'm going to add another scoop of snow text. That's because my paint was thin. So I was trying to use up the end of the bottle. Yeah, I like that better. It's more like pipeable buttercream, maybe a little thinner than that, because I do want it to drip. All right, now I add a little glue. I don't know if it's really necessary, but I always feel like I just try to make sure that it'll stick better. And this one's about empty. Let me see if I can scoop out some glue without making a horrible mess. I just want to make sure my stuff sticks, that the snow on the roof is going to stick to the roof. Okay, now I'm going to use this as a stirrer. Close this one up. And a lot of times I'll put a layer of plastic wrap on top so that it doesn't dry out, because like I said, it's relatively expensive. You don't want to waste it. You don't want your snow to dry out. So first I try to drip it down like in this crease. And see, I could tell it's going to make a nice drip. I just think it's easier to control. And also, truthfully, it's not so much that I paint it, I kind of push it in place. Put it along the peak. And if you mess up, you can just paint the whole roof white or most of it white with your snow. And you could use white paint if you want, but I just like this texture from the snow. I really like it to be heaped up here, so in the front, it looks like the snow has really piled up. See, I like that. Now, get a little on the edge of the chimney. I think it looks good on the chimney. And you get the idea, and you can add as much snow as you want, or like I said, you can cover the whole roof. That looks good too. And then once I let it dry, I'll actually put some down here, down at the base. Let me show you on this example. So I put it around the base, and this one's also glittered. It's got a very subtle glitter. I think this is a Martha Stewart glitter, extra fine glitter. I'm not a big glitter fan, but I wanted it to be kind of subtle, but just a little shine. I'll show you about glitter in just a second. This is the time we're going to add glitter. So let me show you a little bit about it. This is actually my favorite. It's called Rock Candy, a crystal clear glitter. It doesn't have an iridescence to it, just looks clear. And that is on this house. And you know, shiny stuff sometimes doesn't show up well on camera. This is Martha Stewart fine glitter, crystal fine, and it's very similar, but I think it's much finer. Can you tell that the particles are much finer? And this house has the fine glitter on it. And it's a very subtle shine, but I like subtle. I'm actually not a huge fan of glitter. And this one, which is really shiny and has big particles, this is actually glass glitter called Diamond Dust, and it's relatively easy to find at your hobby stores. But it is ground glass. Now this Diamond Dust has pretty coarse shards of glass. And I'll be honest, I've never gotten stuck by it, but all over, you know, they have all these warnings: don't use around kids, don't use around kids. And the truth is, if you make a little house like this and a child sees it, they're going to want to play it, they're going to want to play with it, they're going to want to touch it. So I don't really recommend that unless you really have something that's put away. So that is the diamond one, and I use Mod Podge or thin glue to that's it, to paint on top. Oh, I forgot, you can also use sand. This is a craft sand, a really fine craft sand, very inexpensive. Sometimes you find it in the wedding section because they use it, of your hobby store, because they use it like around the candles and stuff. Or you can find it in the kids craft area because they make things with sand. They do little play landscapes and stuff. But that's very inexpensive, and it's got a nice shine to it. And this is really cool. This is the old-fashioned shiny stuff. This is mica, and it's got kind of a gray tinge to it, but you can see it's got a brilliant shine too. So if you want it to look kind of vintage, you can do mica flakes. And this is how I bought it. I'm going to take it out of its bag because the graphics are so cool, the vintage graphics. But it's really just ground mica. Oh dear. And the box leaks. That's why it's in a bag. No, it's in my glue. Oh well, we're going to see how mica works too. All right, and you can use regular white glue, just dilute it, but I'm using Mod Podge. I'm just going to paint it, and I'm using an old stiff brush, which is really all I have are old stiff brushes. I painted this one. It's a paint color called Kitsch Flamingo, and it's actually a little too pink. I'm going to make another one with a pale pink. And I like the edge of the snow to kind of catch the glitter too. And the edge, especially the front edge. And just paint it on. It is important that you kind of paint one side at a time, because if you stick your fingers in it, then you know, the glue kind of messes up, and then you'll have like this blank area with no glitter, and it's hard to correct. So just do like a side at a time. Now I'm going to do the whole roof at one time, partly because I can hold the house without putting my fingers in it. One of the things that helps the most is I actually use not coffee filters. I use coffee filters, cheap coffee filters, because it's so easy to shake the glitter out of it. And yeah, it doesn't take a lot of glue to adhere glitter to something. I mean, you know how glitter is. And that's one reason I use it kind of sparingly. I like it to just kind of highlight my snow. But a lot of people cover their entire houses with glitter. Now, I'm going to get my glitter set up, which consists of a paper plate and a coffee filter. So here's my paper plate. I'm adding a coffee filter. There's actually kind of a backup coffee filter. And I just sprinkle it on straight from the jar. And then I'll kind of rotate the house so I can get these edges. And I'm going to let that dry. If I see spots that I've missed, I'll add some more glue in a minute. I don't want it there. And I will paint the bottom. So I'll just let that dry. Wait, okay, there we go. Now this is how the coffee filter helps. It's just so easy to pour it back in the jar. So that is my glitter hint for you. If you want to add glitter to your houses, you don't have to. I don't always do that. Okay, that is how you make your little Alpine Christmas house. It's fun. It's cute, isn't it? I've been very excited about this project for a while.
So that's how you make the Alpine Christmas house. And if you like this design, you will love the houses in the Alpine Village Wreath Workshop. There are 12 different patterns, different from this one, so you could use this one as well. And there are also variations you can do, so you can leave off the trim if you want. Anyway, and I showed you in more detail adding snow, glitter, and how to attach it to the house, how to kind of make your wreath more fancy. And I hope you will check out the Alpine Village Wreath Workshop, and I hope you enjoyed making this little house. I'll see you for some more crafts very soon.